So yesterday I did an episode where I talked about here's some ideas, some things that you could bring into the game that you know would give players a sense of investment, a sense of progression, something to do, something interesting to do. And there was some minor disagreement out there. And I'd like to address that by saying you're wrong. So, exactly how? Let me explain. All right, you guys remember the event around the Glaive sale? I think it was 2015, end of summer 2015, when we did the Glaive sale, and basically get into Arena Commander, get into Vandal Swarm, complete Vandal Swarm. It was like what all 18 levels. And if you did it, you got a badge. If you got the badge, then you could go and you could buy the Vandal Glaive. This was kind of a high-profile event. There was some negativity around it because some people simply couldn't get in to get it done. Myself, I saw that, and it just happened to be that I was there at my computer at the time. I was like, oh, I'm doing that shit right now. And got it on the first try, and in fact, got the Vandal Glaive. Now, that event required certain things to happen. You had to trigger an event in the game. You had to get a certain badge. You had to acquire a certain thing. And then that unlocked something on the website that you were able to buy. But the game had to recognize that you have that badge. And that's a badge that I still have on Spectrum or on the old forums, yada, yada, yada. So the game was able to recognize something that I had done in game, and then award me something, whether it's a badge, whether it's the ability to buy, something like that. Now, in the game that we have now, in Star Citizen in its current state, there is the ability to randomly spawn ships. We see this all the time. Pirate spawn, mission requirements, like if you're doing a pirate, or even a mercenary mission where it's like, go shoot down this person, retrieve the goods. You go to that area, you shoot down the ship, the goods appear, you take them, you return them to a certain location, you get a reward based on that. So we already know that there's a certain amount of what happens in game can be reflected on the website, can be reflected outside of the game. We've seen that at different stages along the way for a few years now. And we've certainly seen within the game the ability to dynamically or spontaneously spawn things that players can hunt in response to players' actions. You take on a mission, your mission NPC will probably appear at a certain location, and then you take them on. That NPC can spawn goods, and then you can retrieve those goods and bring them back. So the framework for all of that currently exists. And if you think that there aren't going to be new missions that are going to come with 3.3, you're wrong. We already know that we're getting the Hammerhead missions. We already know that there's going to be a continuous stream of new missions and new things to do in the game with every release. That's always a part of that, because even though there might be a team working on the Hammerhead, there might be a team working on object container streaming, there's always going to be a team working on content for Star Citizen as well, and whatever they produce is likely to make it into the next patch. They're going to experiment with different ideas, different things that we can do to keep people interested in the game, and they're going to release these things. Now, 6 months ago, there was a calling all devs where a developer, I forget his name, in Austin, Texas, was asked a question, and part of his answer was the fact that they actually maintain a database of all the money we've made in every iteration of the game along the way, that they know how much money you had at every stage and every patch. They know how much you ever made in the game. So if in the very early days of 3.0, after it got stabilized, I think there was a few episodes where I was pushing for over 1 million UEC, and they have that information. They know how much money you've made in the game, going all the way back to the 2.0 and on days. So keeping track of the things you've accomplished is also something that they already do. So all the prerequisites are there. The problem is that the content that we get, the missions that we get, have no sense of progression, because ultimately everything that we earn, everything that we buy, everything that we shop for is lost. It's erased as far as we're concerned in the game. None of that is kept, and it's always refreshed and brought to a point where, okay, you know what, just to make things clean, just to make normalize things, just to make things predictable, we're going to reduce your wardrobe back to what you baseline have. Though you'll note that as a subscriber, I have certain weapons on my account, certain weapons that were awarded to me because I was a subscriber, so that I have these things there. You might also be awarded certain things if you belong to concierge and things like that. So we know that you can go out and get things. We know that you can earn things, whether it's spending money on the game or whether it's doing things in game, like earning badges that can be kept track of and can be applied to your character. For a while we had access to our orc combat armor, even though it was the modern version, not the, I guess, the older version that it's supposed to be, and that was reflected in our account for a while. We could simply log in and automatically apply that medium suit of combat armor and then just go about our business within the game. That's something a lot of people forget about, but a lot of the early days backers will know that they actually have that set of armor sitting there somewhere on their account. Now, you note in yesterday's episode when I was talking about, what if there was a stealthy marauder in space and it was coming to hunt the players, or the players had to go and hunt that thing down. You could use scanning. You could showcase the scanning mechanic that you are already building, that you are already fleshing out. You could use something like this to showcase that mechanic, and as a consequence, you could create missions that kept track of players' accomplishments and awarded a badge, a title, a cosmetic, whatever, for that accomplishment, investing players in that hunt. Now, I didn't say that that's something that you log in and you can resolve in 5 minutes. Maybe this is something that takes a little time to resolve, a reason to log in, something to do, something to enjoy. And there is that sort of idea of, they're just trying to distract us with this, so we feel that we're accomplishing something while they buy more time to get things done. And that is certainly there, but then there's also the idea that this gets players to go and play with that new mechanic, to explore it, to learn about it, to see what they can do with that mechanic. It gives them a reason to kind of go in and experiment, and to their own benefit, sometimes develop a little bit more depth of knowledge with that mechanic and how to use it properly. The idea of going to a different system, going to Vandal Space, obviously down the road when we get to the point where we can bring in another system and we can go and explore that segmentally as that system is brought online, much the same way that the Crusader system is being brought online, a piece at a time, right? So you're going and you're exploring that system and you're penetrating into that system as you are militarily capable of doing, but you use that as an excuse to kind of hide certain portions of the system that are unfinished while you bring those things online. So you can kind of award people certain badges, certain rewards, acclaims, whatever that they earn throughout that campaign. And meanwhile, the campaign is structured in such a way that it goes hand in hand with the development of that potentially hostile system. So it's something that goes along with what they're developing within the game and how they're developing it. It takes into account the developer's need for time. Now, recently on ATV, we've seen them feature a lot of player-created events, these spontaneous events, whether it's let's all get on Twitch, let's get together, let's go have a dune buggy race on Daymar, let's go do this, let's go do that. And they featured a lot of these events, let's get 50 players into an instance and pack them all into a 600i. We've probably all seen the videos, right? And CIG is obviously very much interested in players having these events because it's emergent gameplay, and they enjoy seeing how everything kind of comes to life within the universe. The only thing that's missing from that is a sense of purpose, is a sense of where are we actually going with this. Now, obviously, when you log into Star Citizen right now and go exploring, it's obvious within a short amount of time that the game still has a few bugs here and there. You know, we've made fun of this one before, but there certainly are plenty of bugs there. But it's also maybe not so obvious to a lot of people that a lot of the requirements for these types of events are already in game. You know, this infrastructure is already there. Let me give you a different example of what I was talking about yesterday. Let's say you're like me and you're doing missions for Rudo, right? What if at some point in the future you know that there's going to be hacking, that there's going to be data running, that sort of thing? And maybe you're a Herald owner, maybe you are a Mercury owner, and you're doing missions for Rudo, but at certain locations where Rudo sends you, whether it's that place where you have to go to dispose of the bodies or the body, or different objectives, things that you take. What if when you shoot somebody down, instead of just spawning a crate that you have to bring back, what if instead it spawns a second piece of equipment? Now, we've seen different pieces of ships when you see a shipwreck, different blown up pieces of equipment, but we've also seen some fairly intact looking pieces of equipment, whether you're exploring a downed Starfarer or a downed Freelancer, that sort of thing. What if there's pieces that a player could take out of that wreck and then keep certain little key components that you might find that are highlighted that you can take away from that? And that becomes a thing where you just take this, you put it back in your ship storage, the game keeps track of it and says, he took that component, he took this component, he took the other component. From these different missions, players could keep track of this thing, and it, you know, if you get the right components together, maybe those can be combined to build a certain piece of hardware that will go with hacking, some added feature, nothing game breaking, nothing overpowered. Like now you can hack it on plus 100% speed, but maybe it offers an interesting opportunity, something that you could acquire over time, like a little bit of a puzzle, a little bit of a treasure hunt, that sort of thing. Look out for these components while you're doing these missions. Take them, put them in your ship, and it's automatically reflected in our files that you took that thing and that you have that thing. Even if we erase the game a month from now when we put out a new patch, it'll still be reflected to us that you have this. And then at some point with Rudo, you'll get a mission to assemble these components together and you'll be able to make this interesting piece of hardware. That's sort of an idea, whether it's a treasure hunt, whether it's, you know, a kill mission, anything like that. If you incorporate that into your mission design, if you incorporate that into your game design theory, your overarching concept of what you're going after, that can offer players that needed layer of progression. That can give them that needed layer of purpose, so that they're not so much aimlessly just exploring the title and going, oh, hey, the new ship, and then logging off. But if they're actually actively hunting things, it gives them a reason to log in, and knowing that they are pulling something out of this that is then permanent to them, something that is attached to them. That's a good feeling. It's that sense of purpose. And I think that within the framework that we have already within the game, there are certainly the facilities to track that progression. And I think it's just a mental kind of hurdle that you just have to hop over. Just, you have to look at it in a slightly different way. And then you can offer players that thing that they need the most, which is a sense of purpose within the title as it goes through its development period. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And the things that you need, for the most part, are already in the game and are things that you've already designed, developed, and built around, and it just requires just a different approach. Anyways, I've rambled on about this enough, so I don't know, we'll totally change topics for tomorrow's show, I promise. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.